Hi everyone. Thank you all so much for being here tonight, and thank you for the money that you have already contributed to making tonight possible. As of 4 days ago, I was planning on standing here tonight in front of you all, sharing all that God has done in our life over the past year. But unfortunately, I got out of the hospital just 9 days ago, and this day took it all out of me, and I have not been able to bounce back as quickly as I had hoped. But the speech that I wanted to say tonight has been on my heart for quite some time, and I could not sit back and let this night go without saying a small bit of it. As many of you know, this last year has been my hardest by far. Since I stood on this stage last year, I have had 7 hospitalizations, resulting in over 110 days in the hospital. I have battled lung infection after lung infection, and starting in October, I began having unexpected drops in oxygen that left me completely blue and unable to breathe on my own. Because these oxygen drops were uncharacteristic of the typical CF patient, my doctors had a really hard time understanding just exactly what I was going through. I started to call these unpredictable drops in oxygen my episodes, and oh my goodness, did they never disappoint. One episode led into a rapid response called on me at 5 a.m. in the hospital. Another episode resulted in our nanny having to call 911 because I had turned completely blue on her. And I was rushed out of my house in a stretcher as our little boy was taking his nap. The episodes kept happening and happening, getting worse and worse, and no one understood them except my amazing husband. And to make a very long story brief, they ended up finding a dime-sized hole in my heart that was causing my blood to shunt, which pushes my blood in the wrong direction and causes my body to be deprived of oxygen, and would leave me completely unable to breathe and at a heart rate that ranged between 140 to 160 beats a minute. I did have successful heart surgery here in Houston 1 month ago. And just 2 weeks ago, I was rushed in the ambulance to the hospital, experiencing a stroke that left me completely paralyzed on my left side. God completely covered me with His mighty protection, allowing the clot on my heart to clear before it could do any permanent damage. This hospitalization that has currently left me too weak to stand here before you. The morning after the stroke, I woke up in cardiac ICU with pneumonia and in need of my first blood transfusion. All of this to say, the nights that I went to bed crying on my knees for God to allow me to rise in the morning for fear that I would have an episode in the night like most of them were. God allowed me to go to sleep wrapped in the arms of the most amazing man who reminds me every second of every single day that I am safe in His arms, that calls me not to worry, that I am loved and cherished. This man, my amazing husband, is way stronger than I will ever be. Everyone thinks I'm the tough one, but he is much stronger than I am, holding me up both emotionally and physically. Through all of these tough months, God has filled my husband with an unexplainable peace that I am going to be okay, and that God has a whole lot in store for me in this life. Through every ambulance ride, in every emergency room, and every episode, I heard God whisper through the mouth of my husband, "I promise you're going to be okay. Paige, did you hear me? I am right here if you need me. Please trust me. You are safe." God knew I needed the most unbelievable man to lead me through this crazy disease. As many of you know, it takes an army of Nettles, Montgomerys, Lions, and all of you friends and family to get me the treatment that I need. I could not fight this fight without my army holding me up. Some very special people in my life heard all that I was going through up in Denver in early December, and they sent an email on a Wednesday evening asking my family and friends throughout Texas to gather together to pray for me at the same time. And they decorated the most beautiful prayer hands to remind me. And that very next morning, my dad hand-delivered to my hospital my first box of the CF drug Kalydeco, which has been a prayer of ours for the past 5 years. But unfortunately, this disease is one that is extremely brutal on the family as a whole, financially, emotionally, and physically. All of my nurses are always in awe of the support that I'm surrounded with, because most adult CF patients spend weeks in the hospital, laying in a dark room all day long alone without any visitors. They have spent their whole life battling this disease that no one will ever understand but the patient. And unfortunately, most CF parents are tired of having to deal with it. So a lot of the CF adult population appears to be very dark and lonely. I'm not allowed to get in close contact with the other patients in the hospital, but I would do anything to be able to encourage each one of them and tell them that they will never be alone in this world, that they are loved by a perfect and spotless Creator, that this disease is not meant to be a burden. It is meant to shed light and hope that we will never have to worry. So tonight, I ask all of you to be that support for my fellow CF patients. I want them all to know that we will never give up on them. They may feel alone and like they'll never feel normal again, and I just wish I could give them the same support that God has instilled in my amazing husband and loving friends and family. But today, all I can do is ask you all to give to them tonight the hope that one day they will get the exact cure that they need to survive this disease. Please be that rock holding them up, helping fund further research and advanced treatments. And most importantly, please keep the CF population as a whole in your prayers, so that they may feel the warmth of your support tonight. Because as my husband says, we are not called to worry, but to trust in the hope of our good and our perfect healer. Thank you all so much for tonight. I love you guys.